Hey everyone, this is Grant from Spectra Racing. So in today's video we're going to go over how to effectively pack for a race. Now, in preparation for Grid Life this year, this really got me thinking because I recently kind of downsized my tow vehicle and I don't have a giant setup anymore, so I kind of have to pack really effectively and not bring too much, but also I don't want to drive 2,000 miles and not have the right thing. So let's get into it. So one of the most important things to think about when you're getting ready for a race is, will I actually have time to fix the car? Now, this is something, you might not have thought about because if you go into an autocross or whatever, you think, oh, I'll just bring all these tools, right? Well, you're not really going to have time. If you're going a single autocross with, 3 to 8 runs, you can only have a few minutes between each run to get your car fixed. Now, if you're a local club or something, maybe they'll let you run in the next group and not work. So, there's some nuances here and there. But generally, no, you're not going to really have time to fix anything. So you really don't need to bring that much, honestly, aside from usual stuff. But we'll get into that. But other types of races, weekend races, obviously you can have loads of time. If so Grid Life, what I'm running this year, I'll have 3 sessions a day over 3 days. So, let's say you do your first couple sessions, something breaks, you have the entire night to fix the car. So then we get kind of into the maybe categories, is like a single track day. Some, depending on the type of track days, you may have like an hour or two in between sessions. So you might be able to fix the car. Then there's also like drag racing, if you're into drag racing. Depending on if it's really busy, you probably actually would have time to fix your car. So then you would need a more complex set of tools. But if it's not so busy, you might not have a lot of time in between pulls. So what do you actually need? Well, before you kind of get into that, is you really want to test your car. You want to get into where trial runs, where kind of failing is an option, right? You don't want to fail at a time trial or an actual competitive event and find out that this lower control arm setup doesn't work, or your car is throwing supercharger belts, because I know that from experience. So you want to take your car to a similar event, find anything, even just street driving around aggressively doing pulls, safely, obviously. Autocrosses, maybe not so much. What I like to do, because it's pretty cheap if you're trying to stay on a budget, is some groups do what's called track sprints, where you kind of, it's usually around the same price as an autocross, but you do one full lap at a time on a track. So you kind of get up to speed, you get your brakes up to temp, you kind of stress test the car, but it's not a full-on $200-300 track day. You don't have to worry about anyone else on track. You're probably not going to break the car. Well, hopefully if you break the car, you'll know what has failed. I like doing those types of events. They are very helpful for test and tuning, and they're budget friendly. So the next thing is what has failed in the past, right? So one of my jobs in the past was a failure engineer. So a lot of things is, things usually fail kind of immediately, dead on arrival. They either fail intermittently, something is causing this particular issue, the thing to not work, right? Or they'll just fail later on, the thing gets old, worn out, etc. So if there's a trend, bank on it happening when you're really pushing the car to the limit. So the other thing is, why did it fail? Was it a fluke? Can it happen again? You really want to be ready for that. One of the things, I threw a supercharger belt on Sebring. I actually don't really know the root cause. I think the belts were just getting stretched, but just in case, what I do is I carry a couple extra supercharger belts, and I preemptively replace them in case they are getting stretched. So if you have like a new car, when I tracked the Tesla time attack in in Grid Life, I was actually pretty bored because the car, nothing broke on the car. The car needed nothing. It needed the brakes to be cooled, and that's about it. So, but you will want to investigate, what could fail in your car, even if it is new or if it's new to you. You want to Google, just see common problems. with your car. Go talk to the community, and be careful, obviously, talking to the community because you don't know how well people are taking care of their cars. You really take a lot of it with a grain of salt, obviously, if you're very particular about your vehicle. Okay, so moving on to parts sparing. So this is also one of my jobs that I've had in the past is for an engineering company. Can you procure this part on site? So like, is it AutoZonable? So if you have, kind of a late model car like my Mustang, a lot of those components are really AutoZonable. So it's kind of questionable if you even need to bring some of those parts with you, especially if you're going to have time to fix it. So what I'm talking about, like power steering pumps, you know, uh, exhaust gaskets, those types of things are going to be AutoZonable, along with goops and gobs. Although a lot of that stuff is kind of nice to have on hand. And when it comes to goops and gobs, you always want to buy the smallest amount possible and kind of like vacuum seal them and put them away because they're going to be sitting forever. And the minute you open them, that's pretty much all the use you're going to get out of them. But when it comes to those specialized components, though, that are not AutoZonable, you really want to have those on hand. So anything that's really specific to your car, an aftermarket part that you have bought for your car that's very specialized. So what you can kind of do with that is, like, for instance, on my Mustang, I have a really high spec. I have the Shelby 2013 GT500 heat exchanger pump, but my old heat exchanger pump worked fine. So I kept that, and that's like a key thing when it comes to sparing, right? Is to try not to try to replace the parts actually before they break, and you can kind of keep the old ones as spares. So let's say I'm at a race, heat exchanger pump dies. I can swap it out for the lower spec one, but at least I'm not totally out of the race. And AutoZone's not going to have this Shelby heat exchanger pump or the older one that I was having, which I think is like an old SVT one anyway. So those are kind of specialized components that you kind of want to have spares for. So as I was saying, is like replacing those old components that can be key, and especially if you don't have a lot of budget for this, there's ways you can do it. Is just general maintenance. Usually, when you do spark plug maintenance, your old spark plugs are generally pretty good. You can try and obviously it's not ideal keeping old spark plugs, but if you want to go out and buy $100 and something set for spares, you can kind of roll them in as when you buy a new set, you buy a second set, and then you can kind of roll in and out your new sets if you have a little bit extra money in that case. Or if you're trying to save money, you can kind of just keep the old spark plugs and throw one in if for some reason one dies. Now that kind of goes on to like a junkyard set of bolts. So this I run into this constantly in autocross because people knew that I would, when I had my bigger setup, I kept like a giant set of bolts with me, and people would always come and ask for random bolts that have fallen off their car. So you should probably torque your bolts a little bit better. Look up torque specs, have a torque wrench, obviously. But what you can do is go to the junkyard, find your car, and just go around the car, go to especially like the suspension components, exhaust components, things that oscillate and generally wiggle themselves loose. So yeah, engine, exhaust, suspension. Those are the types of bolts you kind of want to have extra of, and you can, usually only is about $5 to enter into the junkyard and bring a big set of pockets. So moving on, tires. Tires are kind of a tough one. I've had pretty good luck with tires, but what I usually do is bring like I said, I replace tires when mine are like maybe 30% left of their life. So I still have a little bit left over, and then I keep that, and I bring those with me for a few months, just in case, you run over a nail at an event, because that would just really suck. So I bring two, you can have four, a whole extra set of tires, very expensive. You're looking at $1,500 easily. Different types of races, you're obviously going to need extra tires anyway. Endurance or whatever, this is not really an issue. Maybe even drag racing. You're going to go through tires a lot quicker. With a lot of autocross and road racing, it can last like a whole year. So that's why sparing with tires is kind of a tough one. Okay, so consolidating tools. So in order to save space and not have a giant tool bin when you're kind of packing for a big race, this is pretty critical for saving space and time and everything. Is You don't need an impact gun, a drill, grinder, everything. You can kind of get away with just having an impact gun. So I like to call one impact gun many adapters. Obviously, not going to be ideal. You're not going to have some of the benefits of having a clutch and stuff on a drill bit, or it's going to be pretty awkward having to grind something on an impact gun. But you can just have one tool. Uh, and with that, you don't. And the same thing kind of goes with screwdrivers. Just have one screwdriver with a general adapter bit, and get a set of adapter bits for that screwdriver. Yeah, if you need a pry bar or something, you might be screwed with you need like a flathead or something. But it kind of keeps down the amount of tools you have to buy. It'll keep your costs down a little bit. And the amount of crap that you have to sort through when you're in a rush also to fix the problem with your car. So what I like to do is then sort everything into transportable bins, not like promoted or anything, but I use DeWalt T-Stack. I use DeWalt because, construction industry uses them, and they've been the most reliable tools I've bought, at least. I've bought Ryobi, and I've had them dead on arrival a couple times, which is kind of annoying. But, your tool ecosystem of choice has the various kind of uh, tool bins. Now, usually, like DeWalt has a non-rainproof one, like that doesn't seal, but it is rainproof, and then they have one that seals. If you're storing this outside, you may want to get the higher spec one, but you don't really need that if it's being stored in a garage or in the shade or something. So I like those transportable bins. Then you want to basically sort them into usage. Label them obviously with if it's spares or whatever, make sure you pack that in the back of your truck because you hopefully will never use them. Whereas, your generalized tools or whatever, that will be you want that as easily available as possible. So I like to keep a dedicated set of these tools for travel. I think, most people probably have this anyway with, a toolbox in the back of their pickup truck or whatever. Um, this this kind of comes to is like it's a bit of a luxury, obviously, having a pre-packed set of tools that you're really not going to use that much, honestly. But when it comes to like doing racing or doing anything kind of fun, it's nice to not have to do a lot of work and preparation for that. So having that all ready to go saves a lot of time and a lot of frustration. All right, so you may have noticed I didn't really kind of go through the exact things you need. That's really going to differ on the type of car you have and the type of racing that you're doing. Honestly, in 11 years plus of racing, I haven't really needed anything too specialized. I've been able to usually fix things with really basic tools, honestly. Obviously, impact gun, torque wrench, those are the big ones. Little screwdrivers, crescent wrench, adjustable crescent wrenches, um, your basic ratcheting wrench. Those are all critical things to have and nice things to bring. A portable light, that's always been nice when you're fixing something in the middle of the night. So some last things to consider here. One thing, as I do a lot of tech inspection at events, and is in order to avoid basically all of this, is to just make sure to go through your car, nut and bolt it, so to speak. Go through, check by hand or with a crescent wrench. Just make sure everything is tight. You don't even have to make sure. You may want to make sure some critical things are to torque spec. Obviously lug nuts and stuff, suspension components. But everything else, you just want to make sure go through it's tight. I can't tell you how many times I've found stuff that just wiggled loose. So make sure it's tight and stays tight. If it needs Loctite or something, put that on there. Some of the things that I've found useful are fans to kind of cool your car down in between sessions. It's never fun going back out on course with hot brakes or a hot engine. You want your oil to cool off and everything, but supercharged car gets heat soaked, and cooling it all back down again, cooling your brakes back down again, will buy you not a lot of time, but it'll buy you a little bit of time. So the other things, a workout mat, something to lay down on, having to fix your exhaust X pipe in the dirt on the ground, not fun. Just laying in the ground. Ask me how I know. Brake bleeder. I can't tell you how many times, especially on a very old car like our Volkswagen, how many times I've bled the brakes on the thing using brake bleeder. going out on track, and it still needs another brake bleed because the person that owned it before had never done it before, and it was jet black, and it was just took a lot of bleeding to get all the stuff out. So if your car is kind of new to you, it's always good to have a brake bleeder if you're not especially particular about it, or you've gotten a lot of air in the system or something. I always like to just keep that with me, and if the brakes are feeling kind of spongy, just do a quick bleed and make sure there's no air trapped in the system. With that, I also want to pray to the machine god. But I have some links on the site. Keep in mind, our website, we also have a great autocross guide if you want to get into autocross. So we have some other trailer guides that kind of goes through a lot of these things. A lot of it is particular to any type of racing, honestly. Setting tire pressures, expectations, how to get better, those sorts of things. We have a lot of good information on our site. Let me know if I missed something. It might be kind of hyper-specific to track and autocross and so forth. And I will update our guide here, as always. So thanks for watching.